Hi everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we're making egg yolk ravioli. To start this dish, we need to measure out 2 cups of all-purpose flour, just into a strainer or a flour sifter if that's what you have. We're going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt and just run this through to get out any large lumps. And we're going to take a measuring cup and just make a little well in the center. And we're going to tip in 3 whole eggs into egg yolks, and you can see how gorgeous these egg yolks are. Then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil, take a fork, and start beating our eggs and slowly pulling in the flour to incorporate with our wet ingredients. Here's a nice little close-up. This does take a little time, but it's really relaxing. So after most of your flour has been incorporated in, I do recommend a bench scraper to start bringing this together. And then once it's a little less sticky, get in there with your hands and start kneading this until you get a stiff, non-sticky dough. This should take anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. Kneading to me is a little cathartic because you get out frustration, it's a nice little arm workout, and you really can't think of anything else except for getting this dough as smooth as possible. Now we're going to round this into a little ball, sprinkle with a little flour, and then cover this with a towel and let this rest for half an hour. While that's resting, we can grate up 1/4 cup of pecorino, I'm sorry. I'm doing a little over because I want to save some for garnish. So we're going to add 1/4 cup of the pecorino into 1 cup of low moisture mozzarella. We're going to season this with a teaspoon of salt, and I want to add a lot of pepper to this, so it's almost like a cacio de pepe. So I've added in 3 teaspoons of freshly ground black pepper, just taking a spatula and incorporating that until it's mixed thoroughly. Now we want to transport this over into a piping bag or Ziploc bag. And a nice little tip is put this in a high-walled container and wrap the edges over the side. It'll just make it a lot neater. Then we're going to cut off the little end, press this down, and set this aside. Now we're going to laminate our dough. So I have a little thyme, a little parsley. For our sage brown butter sauce, we need about 12 leaves of sage. I'm just being a little picky here and picking out the prettiest ones. Now these are happy eggs. My friend Michelle told me about them, and they remind me of the eggs in Japan. The yolks in America are really pale, but these are gorgeous and bright orange. Now we just need the yolks for this, but I'm saving those egg whites for an egg white omelet. The easiest way I find to separate the yolks from the whites is with my hands. Now it's been a half an hour. Our dough has taken a nice little rest. We're sectioning this into 3 sections. Now this is far more dough than we're going to need for our ravioli, but you can save the rest of that to make other ravioli or spaghetti. So just cover the sections you're not using, lightly dust your bench and your pin, and you just want to roll this out until it's thin enough to go through your pasta machine. And folks, I did a thing. I went and bought myself the KitchenAid attachment because after making the ramen noodles, I really thought I needed one, so I bought one. So we're going to run this through from the widest setting to the second to last thinnest setting. Just flouring as you go, just so nothing sticks. And this was also mesmerizing. It was nice not to have to manually crank this. So once we've gotten to the second to last thinnest setting, we're going to lay this out on our bench, and we're just going to start laying out our herbs. And we're going to brush our dough with a little bit of water so everything adheres, fold it in half, and run it through the pasta machine again on the second to last thinnest setting. And this is looking absolutely beautiful, and I'm super excited. We're going to cover this up, flouring in between those little folds so nothing sticks, and let that rest while we work on our sage brown butter sauce. So over medium heat, I'm adding a half stick of butter, a pinch of kosher salt, and we're going to let that melt before adding in our sage leaves. Now we want these to fry, and they should only take about 2 minutes. It's also going to infuse that butter with that gorgeous sage flavor. After 2 minutes, we're going to pull these out and let them drain on paper towel, before adding in another half stick of butter, a sprig of thyme, and 2 crushed garlic cloves. We just want this to infuse. We're going to let this cook for about 2 minutes, just until that butter melts and those milk fats start to go away. Then we can remove the thyme and the garlic cloves. Now our butter has sufficiently browned. We can take that off the heat and set that aside. Now back to our ravioli. We're going to take our sheet of pasta dough, spread this out. I did do a test run first because your girl Should have practiced, but she has a full-time job in the city all week. So here we go. We're going to make a little nest with our ricotta cheese and gently tip in our egg yolk. And I'm only making 4 because these are pretty rich. And usually they're served 1 to 2, depending on how big they are. But again, just making a nest with ricotta, tipping in the egg yolk. Once they're all formed or on our pasta dough, we're going to brush with a little water. And again, I miscalculated a little bit here. This should fold completely over, but we are going to work with what we have. So we're going to take one side and fold it over, take that other edge, fold that over, and press from the middle out. We want to get as many air bubbles out as we can. Then we're going to take our bench scraper after we have this thoroughly sealed, and we're going to start sectioning this into individual ravioli. And you can see how big these are, and they are going to swell up as they cook as well. And we're going to trim any rough edges, just to make them look pretty. Then we're going to take a fork and seal the edges thoroughly. Now to cook our ravioli, we're going to generously salt some water, bring it up to a boil, and slowly and carefully drop in our ravioli and let these cook for about 5 minutes. Again, this is fresh pasta dough. It doesn't take long. After 5 minutes, we're going to pull that out of the water, pop that into our brown butter over low heat, give this a little swirl, and now we're ready to plate. So just adding 1 ravioli to a large bowl, sprinkling with reserved pecorino, topping with our fried sage, and this is looking delicious. Now let's go ahead and give this a taste. I'm super excited. I do need a knife for this, but look at this gorgeous, runny, bright orange egg yolk. The pasta is super tender. You get little hits of those herbs. The yolk adds a whole new sauce to this, and the sage just adds that little something special. But there it is, egg yolk ravioli. I really do hope you all try to make this. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really do appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a like. If you loved it, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell because I put out new videos every Thursday. Thank you again, and until next time, happy cooking.